This is the New York City FC Pregame Live. Today, New York City look to get their fourth straight win against the Colorado Rapids. And now, here are your hosts, Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
Yeah, well, here we are. And the definition of childish, just look at the dictionary, and the name Matty Lawrence will emerge.
Almost definitely.
Welcome, Citi Field, New York City FC. Hey, the last time they played the Colorado Rapids, I think this is interesting, June 19th, 2022. It was Nick Cushing's first job as the head coach. He was the interim head coach at the time. It was right after the international break. The game ended a 1-1 draw at Yankee Stadium, and now the very next time they're playing is today, first time at Citi Field. There's only 6 games in this entire series between the two, and New York City's never lost to the Colorado Rapids, although the Rapids appear to be a better side this year, but they're without one of their top players, if not their best and most important player, injured. Djordje Mihailovic, not available with a hip injury. Suffered it during training. He was uncomfortable during the week, limited in training. That's all we've heard about it because that was kind of unexpected when we first saw it. And as far as New York City goes, there's just going to be one change. Hannes Wolf is going to come back in for Julian Fernandez. And, well, Matty, it's as far as Nick Cushing goes, really disjointed start to the year.
Yeah.
But now, 5 without a loss, 3 consecutive wins for the first time since the end of the 2022 season. And things are, your striker still hasn't scored a goal, but they've still been able to manage results without that.
Yeah, look, the striker, as in Monsef Bakra, not scoring, you know, his goal-scoring record, obviously, it's slightly worse than going out there to spot a unicorn, isn't it? But it's just impossible. It really is.
I'm going to play a clip from Matt Freese. I had a big interview with Matt Freese this week. Really interesting stuff because he pulled out some of his Harvard intellect during the interview. But he talks about Bakra a little bit. But go ahead.
Look,
not to interrupt.
It's almost like car crash TV now, watching Bakra out there. I feel genuine. I said it at the end of the last game. I feel incredibly sorry for him now because it's not a lack of effort. It's not a lack of work rate.
Yeah.
He's doing everything well that isn't what you expect from a number 9. You know, he's doing it. He's working hard. He keeps the ball relatively well. He doesn't always hold it up that well, which you would want for a centre forward. And he's not scoring goals. But as I say, take nothing away from the work rate and effort. But every time I look at him, his body language gets worse and worse and worse, and understandably so. There's nothing wrong with that. He's a human being. It's human psychology. When things aren't going right for you every single time, the expectancy almost when you go out there is that you're going to make mistakes, and he does. Yeah. He makes mistakes in front of the goal every single game.
748 minutes without a goal, but the guy who came in for him last week, and it was sort of a surprise substitution. Yeah. We expected Jovan Mijatovic. We're going to hear from Nick Cushing as to why he made that choice. But it was Alonso Martinez, and in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, with the game at 1, this is what he did. Ilinic taking it strong into the penalty area to get the shot off. Now here's a curling ball. There's a first-time finish! First-time finish for New York City FC! It's Alonso Martinez! A crossing ball from the right. The smokestacks erupt. And it was Santi Rodriguez again delivering. It was his service. Alonso Martinez squeezed his way inside the defender with a first-time finish. Coming on for Monsef Bakra, his 2nd goal of the year. And Santi Rodriguez with another assist. Probably going to be the game-winning assist for New York City FC. And from a tie to a win, to 3 points, and it's just what we were talking about, Matty.
Yeah, and look, both goals in important times of the game, just before half-time, just before the end of the match. Absolutely magnificent from Martinez, and maybe that's why Mijatovic didn't come on, because Martinez has got that scorer's touch. Great finish, There was an overload on the back post. Nathan Byrne had Malachi Jones and Martinez. He couldn't do both things. Couldn't hold off Martinez, and Martinez just sweeps it home. But how about Rodriguez? Gets the ball down in that corner flag area. He must be absolutely shattered. It's the 95th minute. He has covered every blade of grass, and I mean that literally as well as metaphorically. Terrific cross, terrific finish.
Santi Rodriguez with a goal and an assist in the win against DC United last week, and now potentially with the assist on the game winner. Yeah, so that's how it ended, and the Parks goal, the goal that Matty was referring to, he talked about both goals, was Keith Parks in the 41st minute off a free kick delivery from Julian Fernandez, who had to start last week, and that made it 1-1. Vargas had scored very early for Charlotte, and so New York City wins their third straight. Now, won't you be interested to hear why Nick Cushing selected Martinez instead of Jovan Mijatovic? Who, by the way, if you're watching this and you see the scroll underneath, and we're trying to get some clarity as to why, but Mijatovic is not in the squad today. But as for last week, Alonso Martinez instead of Jovan Mijatovic. Here we go.
I think we talked post-game. We all thought Mijatovic would be the choice. You said during the week that he was ready, but you went with Alonso Martinez. What went into your decision there? And it was obviously a good one.
I think it's style. I've said before, styles make fights, and I think sometimes, it's about blend and balance, right? And you have to look at what is right for the moment. And I just think Jovan is a clinical box player. I don't judge them in the sense of what one can't do, but Alonso, he plays on the shoulder and he always is on the last line. And the more we've moved, we've moved him from the wide right or wide left into number 9 because we want to have players that attack space, and he is super clinical in the box. He's the type of guy that I know if he gets one chance, he's going to take it. And, he did in Miami, and he was disappointed in Miami not to get the second. But to come into this game, and I thought his desire to get across the front when the cross comes is an exact example of Alonso Martinez and why he scores.
So do you have 3 strikers now? I mean, is that the way you're looking at it?
Yeah, I think so. I think, I've had some discussions with Alonso around. I think it's hard sometimes to be somebody that plays across 2 or 3 positions, because sometimes you can play across none of them. You almost become the backup in all of them.
Right.
Whereas Alonso, he knows that it's incredibly competitive to get in on the wing, and he right or left, he knows he's clinical and he has a desire to develop his game as a number 9. I think he knows he can get into spots that can be effective for the team, and I would say, yeah, we probably now have come to the conclusion that we have 3 really fighting it out for the number 9 position.
Well, if that's true, that is mighty interesting. And we're hearing, and this is not official, but that Mijatovic may have injured his heel in training. Interesting that Mihailovic, Jordi Mihailovic, injured his heel during the week, and that's why he's not in the lineup today for Colorado. So as far as Bakrar, it's almost like, when you put your socks on and you don't have them on just right and they're not uncomfortable, and it's almost the way that's the way he is in front of goal. There's not that comfort level. Alonso Martinez, I mean, you look at his proficiency, it would be leading the league if he had more minutes. He's scoring 1 goal under 90 minutes.
Yeah, of course. I think Martinez is a good fit for a super sub role. You're coming on for the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes because of his pace, because, yes, he does have an eye for goal, because, yes, he also has confidence in front of goal because he's scored a few. With Bakrar now, it just feels, firstly, Bakrar's getting lucky that he's starting because Mijatovic got kept behind in Serbia because of visa issues, then was injured, I think, with the Serbian youth team. Then now he's injured here today. So it's almost a double-edged sword. He's lucky, Bakrar, that he gets another start, but he's also unlucky that he gets another start because he doesn't look comfortable starting games. He doesn't look comfortable playing football right now because his job is to score goals. And it is an absolute, it will be a travesty for him if this run goes on much longer, because he does try so hard. And just because you try hard doesn't mean you are become a professional footballer or score good goals.
Now, aren't you also interested in what his teammates think about it?
Yes, I'd like to hear what his teammates think of it off camera.
Well,
rather than on camera.
Well,
but
this
yes,
is going to be
we're
on
obviously not
camera, on mic, and this is Matt Freese, who sees everything in front. And when goals aren't scored, that puts more pressure on him.
Can you talk about how his teammates are trying to help him along here? I mean, it's well documented what's happening. The striker's not scoring goals, and he's getting chances. He's working hard. He seems to be doing everything correctly, except if you're a striker, you have to score goals. I mean, how's that going within the team?
Two things on that. I think the first is, respectfully, I don't fully agree that the striker's main thing is to score goals. In our system, the striker's main thing is high pressing, creating chances, helping others, making runs so that other people can score, and as well as, yes, score goals themselves. There are, a list of 7 responsibilities, one of which is score goals, and he's doing the other 6 perfectly. And he's working his butt off, and we're all really proud of him, and we all believe in him. Like, he can finish, he's finishing in training, and we're all fully behind him from a confidence, perspective, as well as we want him to do well. He deserves it. Like, he works so hard. He can, he's one of the few strikers in the league who contributes to his defending, or his team's defending, because he's working so hard with this press. And those are things that he has to continue to do.
All right, I think we've seen that with the pressing, but 7 different things. And again, that's the analytical Matt Freese, who probably has an understanding of every position.
No, that's the politician Matt Freese, that was. But anyway.
All right. Well, anyway. But look, if you're his teammate, you have to continue to encourage him.
Of course you do. Of course.
And the coach, what Nick said, Nick knew I had spoken to Matt. And by the way, the Matt Freese interview on my podcast On Frame, about 25 minutes. We talk about his life a little bit. He's an interesting guy, and certainly a likable guy, and who has become, you'd have to say, one of the better keepers in the league.
Absolutely.
The way he's performed from the end of last season now through 10 games this year. But Nick Cushing said, did Matt tell you how much that Monsef is lighting him up in practice? And he said, well, he didn't say it quite like that. But again, that's practice. These are games. Yeah. And Bakrar again in the starting 11 for New York City FC. One more from Matt Freese, if you would.
Absolutely.
So he, this is, he's a Harvard grad. Now, he only went for 2 years in person and played, and then then he became a professional. He was with the Philadelphia Union first. And, at Harvard, he finished his degree online and while he's training, while he's playing games, which is really
full respect for that.
That stuff is just remarkable. But he had made a statement in the past about how being at school and being at such a high level institution and thinking how that is important to his game. Here's that part of our conversation.
I was just listening to an interview with Pablo Mastroianni, the RSL coach, and he was talking about Emeka Eneli, who attended Cornell. And he was talking about his rapid development in the midfield and said, it's been advantageous for him that he's so smart because he picks up on things very quickly. I'm pulling a quote from an interview you did last year with a club where you said the intellectual stimulation side of academics was really important in my soccer development. So explain that.
Yeah, there's a theoretical research side of it that cognitively, the more you learn and the different ways that you learn how to learn, continue to expand your brain and enable you to pick things up quickly and think about things creatively and problem solve. So there's that side of it, and then the other side of it is also just it really allowed me to have a de-stressor in a lot of stressful moments.
So that's Matt Freese. Again, a portion of the interview that I had with him this past week. So. I agree with that sort of thing, right? And we both have talked about just doing our little word things that we do to further, provide capabilities, maybe in how we speak or just being alert. We're not sure. It's
just keep your brain attuned and keep yourself stimulated as well. And look, it can't be a hindrance. That's a fact. If you've got a degree, you've been to Harvard, anything like that, you also do then need to complement that with football intelligence, football IQ, if you will, as well, because I've met some very book smart people, and you'd put them out there on the football field, and they They wouldn't understand the transitions from defence to forward.
Well,
There's many things. All I'm saying is I absolutely agree with what Matt Freese's sentiment, but just because you've been to Harvard doesn't mean that you're going to be attuned to the football way of thinking.
Sometimes it works. I know a lot of coaches who have either are currently or have been at the Ivy League level, and they say it's a difficult coaching assignment because these players overanalyze everything and take it maybe to a level that's not even necessary.
I take everything too literally, football too literally, analytics too literally. Almost forget about your overthinking. Just put the ball in the net, and that's that. And I know it's not as simplistic as that, but intelligent people, which Matt Freese, you can already tell. Just listen. I hadn't heard Matt Freese speak before, but I'm not in the slightest bit surprised you're telling me that man I just heard has a Harvard degree, because he speaks in that way, and you can even not quite hear his brain ticking as he's speaking, but he's thinking about what he's saying as he goes along, and you can understand that. So that's great. But also, some coaches, certainly my first coach in professional football, called me a student W in front of the players because he was worried about my intelligence, that I might undermine him and things like that. Wow. It was, not everybody takes to, certainly back home as well, where football seen much more as a working class sport than over here. Right. I was out of the ordinary having a degree. I was probably, I think, one of about 3 professional footballers out of 92 professional teams that had a degree. So, it's strange back home, but not here. It's much more accepted here.
And the most important thing about Matt Freese, I think we'd have to consider, he's 4th in MLS in goals against average, 8th in saves, 3rd in save percentage, which I always say is the most important statistic, perhaps, for goalkeepers. And he's back in goal again for New York City. This is NYCFC Preview Live. I'm Glenn Crooks. That's Matty Lawrence there. We've got our live commentary coming up beginning at 3:45 of the pregame show with Nick Cushing. And we've been talking a lot about Monsef Bakrar. So our friend John Rojas is in Madrid with his son traiing, and his friend Dave, obviously, and they're all right, we'll see what happens.
Well, if
John,
he's waiting for Bakrar to score, he's going to miss his flight home.
Matty,
come on, it's just a bit of comedy. I was only joking.
Well, let's somebody else scored a goal last week. Finally, for the first time since June 23rd, 2023, against Portland. His name was Keaton Parks. Again, this goal leveled it up, and this is how you heard it on the New York City FC network. And a free kick for New York City FC, and it's going to be Fernandez and Parks, and it's 1-1! Keaton Parks with the header off the delivery from Julian Fernandez. It's a set-piece goal for New York City FC. We've been waiting to see that from Keaton Parks in 2024. Yeah, and only 2 goals in 23. He's had 3 goals since the beginning of 2023, and I think that's one thing. If he added a few more to his game, that's going to take away from some of the pressures in other areas of the field too.
Yeah, and that's just for NYCFC. I think if he added goals to his game as well, he would get a lot more recognition at the international level, the national team level as well. I think it's expected of a modern-day centre midfielder, because Parks is more than just a 6. A sitting 6 doesn't particularly score goals, but he's more than that. He's more of an 8. And the modern-day number 8 or modern-day number 2, whatever you would like to call it, has to score goals, has to provide assists to get into very good teams, that's for certain. And just I've obviously re-watched that goal a number of times, but just watching it there, Glenn, it's just so perfect the way he attacks the ball. It's so perfectly timed. It's effortless. It looks natural, but we know it's not that natural because it doesn't happen very often. Yeah. But looking at it, you just think, he's 6'4". Go and attack the ball. You've got a good eye for goal. He gets the timing of his jumps right, gets the time of the flight of the ball right. They met in perfect synchronicity. It's a terrific goal. But then, I'll be a little bit like, let's see it more often.
Well, no, I know.
It looked
I always
terrific.
think guys of that size, when they're not good in the air, or effective in the air, then it's...
He is good in the air, as we've seen. He's not effective,
Hey, one more thing, and you, and this is going to answer a question of yours. I think you're going to like this. Santi Rodriguez, he leads the team. He's got 4 goals, a pair of assists, and he's really played at a DP level over these last several games. But the last 2 goals he scored, he has leapt into the arms of somebody over in the corner. So we've defined that for you, Matty.
Yep.
This was me with Nick Cushing, part of the pregame show coming up in just a few minutes.
Thinking back to a couple of recent goals and it happened right in front of us below our broadcast booth, where he leapt into the arms of Grant Barge over in the corner. And we know that Grant is a friend of yours, and he's been around the team. He does leadership courses at West Point, where he's also been deployed to Afghanistan himself. And I know when we originally talked about him, he was here to, he's that kind of guy, and I've had a chance to talk to him a little bit too. But Santi, it seems like there's a part of Santi that he's helped too.
Colonel Barge is an integral part of our support staff. He works on our performance team with our head of performance. He helps myself and the coaching team. He works individually with guys. He works collectively with the team. He works with the leadership team of the group. He has incredible experiences, whether that be experiences when you're having real highs or experiences when you're having real lows, because ultimately the armed forces and combat is a really serious business. So he is an expert in leadership. He actually teaches strategic defense at West Point as an acting member of the U.S. Army. So,
well, does that help on the defensive side of soccer?
I do like strategy and defending. He's just an incredible guy at giving you perspective. But
has he done something special with Santi? I know he talks with a lot of the players, but Santi, to run over to the corner and jump into the arms of one guy means there's something going on there.
Yeah, listen, I trust the Colonel. The work that he does is excellent with everybody, and I'm not trying to avoid the question. I think that moment is more of a team moment, although it's 2 individuals. It tells me that our culture and our environment is strong and solid, and it tells me that people really value each other, and it tells me that whether we are in a good moment or a bad moment, that people are working together to strive to improve. And the work that the Colonel does with Santi or does with any other guys is really important work, but so is the training field. So we'll continue to work. The process for us is about every moment you get has to be a moment that you can improve one of our individuals.
All right, there you have it. And the Colonel's on the road. I've had a chance to speak to him before. It's sometimes you don't even recognize maybe what kind of impact an individual like that can have in a program.
Yeah, absolutely. And the word for me that I took from those, all of them, legitimate words from Nick Cushing, was perspective. And let's be honest, we all get very self-absorbed with football. I played for 16 years professionally. And at times, football felt like Bill Shankly, the Liverpool manager, said it. Football's not a matter of life and death. It's way more important than that, which obviously he says relatively tongue-in-cheek. He was aware of what mortality is. But we have to remember, so when we're talking about back row and not scoring, and it gets frustrating for us as fans or broadcasters to watch that, let's not forget, let's put football, it's just the sport. Let's put it into perspective. And when the Colonel's obviously been in combat in Afghanistan or wherever you're in combat, it is a matter of life and death. And he will have seen a lot of death. So
he has seen it. He has seen it at its worst.
I almost don't want to know because I can only imagine some of the things he has going on in his head, at times when he's sitting alone and things like that at night time. So for him to be able to bring perspective of football and sport and a bit of humanity to the team, that can only help, even if it's not specific football skills.
And I love the way they met. Each of their sons played on the same club team in Northern Jersey, or maybe World Class in New York. And so now he's a part of the support staff and program at New York City FC. All right, before we go, this is just one of 2 games today. Seattle's playing the LA Galaxy after this one. All the matches played yesterday, of course, almost all of them at the same time. And Toronto is the opponent next week, so I thought I would just give a couple of notes here. Toronto beat Dallas 3-1, and Bernardeschi, 2 goals and an assist. One of his goals was a penalty that was saved, and then he hit the rebound in. And but I thought the best story was Matty Longstaff with his 3rd goal of the year, and his brother Sean scoring earlier in the day for Newcastle. How about that for the Longstaff brothers? Yeah. What do you say?
It's not bad
at all. Nice?
No, that's great as well. And Matty Longstaff, I think, will be a success in this league. He did relatively well for Newcastle, but just wasn't up quite to the standard of his brother Sean, and he almost needed to come out from the shadows of his brother there. So there's no reason why if he plays well over here that he can't go back home and play as well, because he is a decent player.
Decent chance. We'll see him next week after 5 straight at home, which concludes today against Colorado. Then it's on the road for New York City, 3 of their next 4. So the homestand, it's worked out well. The best record in April among the teams in MLS, 3 wins and a draw, 10 of a possible 12 points. And now we'll see how May starts in just a few minutes. Our pregame show begins at 3:45 p.m. with the pregame show presented by Ford with head coach Nick Cushing. So for Matty Lawrence, I'm Glenn Crooks. Remember also, if you happen to be watching the game today on Apple Television, you can also tune in to our commentary, which will be synced with it on the Apple app. And Apple's free today across the league. So every now and then they throw out the bonus and just throw all the games
quickly,
on.
I don't think we've mentioned that Tylus Magno is alive and well.
He's
spotted.
in the
He's out
squad.
there. Yeah,
Tylus Magno, and there he is on the screen. So if you're looking and watching us right now, there's Tylus on the big, and that's a big arse screen here at Citi Field, straight ahead. And Tylus Magno recovering from the knee, and he is available today. So that's it for us. We'll talk to you again in just a few minutes. Thanks for joining us.